Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing another winning gameplay analysis. Um, so just to give you a bit of an introduction, I'm not a very mechanically skilled player, and I consider myself a fairly standardly skilled builder, I guess. By no means an expert. I usually hover between about 10 and 12% win rate, um, which is pretty high for a player of my skill. And the primary reason for that, I think, is the strategic layer of this game and the way I choose to take fights, not take fights, gather information, and control areas. So let's pause it for a second, and we're going to talk about this jump. So we had a bus traversing from southeast to southwest. Basically, when you've got a bus like this, the first half of the map is going to have the majority of the players in it. The second half of the map, the players are going to be kind of concentrated on some of these larger areas. What I like to aim for is the secondary areas, like Flush Factory or the factory down here, which is where I'm going this game, Shifty Shafts, and the school, which all would have been great choices for this bus. In this case, I'm going for the factory because it has a good deal of loot. It has an ample supply of wood in the form of pallets, and it usually has between 1 and 3 people to fight. And that's something I look for, is at least a couple of people to fight early on, because it speeds up the looting process if other people can bring the loot to you. So I'm just looking around as I come down. I want to see anyone else who's landing with me. We do have one other person that lands with us. So you can see up here in the very top, they're coming down on a building nearby. After that, it's just a matter of getting our early game essentials, our shotgun, our shields, and our automatic weapons. In this case, we find 2 of the 3 right off the bat, which is pretty good for us, and it gives us a little bit of freedom to keep looking before we make our way over. In this case, we also get pretty lucky in finding an RPG right off the bat, and that RPG is very consequential to eventually winning this game. So right here, I can very clearly hear the guy running around in this building. So what I'm doing is just gaining a height advantage on him. If you have a height advantage, you're much more likely to be able to control any given encounter. And really, that's what it comes down to. If you don't have the mechanical skill of a Twitch streamer, you're looking to control situations. You need to be able to determine who's going to be able to see who, when to be aggressive, when to be defensive. And in this case, it pays off. We're able to hear him looting this chest. We know exactly where he is. We have the information. We have an explosive non-line of sight weapon, and we kill him right off the bat. And that kind of clears up the factory for now, and we're able to go and loot for a while. I'm going to go ahead and speed the game up once we take a look at the map, actually. So this first zone is pretty interesting. Anyone who jumped late is being punished for it. So remember, the bus went southeast to southwest. So anyone that jumped late got a late start in looting, and now they've got a long way to run to the zone. Anyone who jumped early probably doesn't really have to do that much moving around. They're going to be in the zone. They're going to be safe, at least for the time being. One interesting aspect, and you'll see me take a look at it later, is the theory of logical progression. So anyone that landed at Flush Factory, headed to the zone, their next logical step is going to be the factory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up a little, just because I take my time looting. I'm just looking for those other essentials. Now I'm looking for the things that'll get me through the mid-game. An assault rifle, a sniper rifle, or a long-ranged weapon, and building supplies. Generally, the only building supplies I'll harvest myself are wooden pallets, because they're just such a dense source of wood. All other building supplies I try and farm off of other players instead. So right now I'm just going through the factory, kind of checking where I know a lot of the stuff spawns. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually pushing out away from the zone. And let me see if I can catch him. There is actually a guy here at Flush Factory, and you see him on the screen here, right here, very briefly. In the course of my game, I actually don't notice him. So what I'm looking for are open doors, like right here, player-built structures, and broken walls. I don't notice the door, and I don't notice him specifically. So in my mind, I make a tactical error in considering Flush Factory clear and just turning my back to it, even though there was a player in plain sight. So, like I've said, I am a fairly average skilled player. I make mistakes, um, and I'm not perfect. So right now I'm just coming up. I'm finishing the looting since I have another 2 minutes before the zone comes in. Go ahead and speed it up a little bit. Really what I'm doing is I'm working away from the zone towards the zone. Now as we're coming back, so now we're starting to get close to the zone. The zone's going to be coming in here, and we're safe right now. So now once we're in the zone, what we do is typically start to move laterally along the perimeter of the zone for the mid-game. If you're always on the move, there's very little chance that anyone will be able to sneak up behind you, and you'll generally intersect people kind of at a right angle. So right now I'm just crossing the bridge. This is probably one of the more dangerous parts. So right now there is a guy over to our east. I haven't seen him yet. I'm not sure whether or not he's seen me, but he doesn't shoot at me, so I'm thinking that he hasn't. When I come down here, I immediately see him, and in fact here I kind of panic a little bit and I pull out the wrong weapon. I should have pulled out my assault rifle. I end up pulling out the scoped assault rifle, but it works out. A lot of people are really caught off guard by the sound the scoped assault rifle makes, and they're not sure how to respond to it. And I get enough damage on this guy that I think he just kind of gives up. I'm able to get his loot. I'm able to swap out my green shotgun for a blue one, and I'm able to swap out my scoped assault rifle for a blue bolt action. I'll go ahead and speed it back up here. So right now zone's coming in. And again, I'm just moving kind of laterally around the perimeter of the zone, looking for signs of player-made structures, looking for activity. Alright, so we've got our next zone now. Coming into the next zone, it's kind of more of the same. Anyone who's in the southeast quadrant of the map isn't really going to have to do a whole lot of moving. Anyone who's on the west side of the map is going to have to kind of book it towards the east side. So I don't really hear anything at Fatal Fields. I think I see movement. We can see in the replay that there's actually 3 people there, but since I don't see any of them, I don't go investigate. If I had, there's a good chance I would have gone in. They might have had loot that was kind of critical for me winning. And right now I still need a better assault rifle than what I have. A purple or gold Scar. Or even just a blue assault rifle. So right now I'm still just kind of perusing around. I'm looking for other people out in the world and signs that players have been here. So right now I'm overlooking the prison. I don't see any signs of movement, but I get the feeling that there are other people. I see player-built structures here and here and near the bridge, and it turns out there is actually a guy, but he's kind of below the crest of this ridge right here, so I don't have direct line of sight on him, and he doesn't have direct line of sight on me. So having cleared the area, I build up a little fort, and I just use it to kind of take a minute until the next zone comes in and decide what my next play is going to be. Once it starts getting down below about 15 people, I slow my game down and I start playing a little bit more conservatively rather than running towards gunfire to try and get weapons and materials. Once you enter the late stage of the game, things like shields and med supplies, they become pretty scarce. So anything that you can conserve resource-wise heading into the final game is really going to pay off in the final 5. So I'll go ahead and speed this up. Right now I'm just making sure that I stay diligent and I watch in every direction. I've had a lot of times up on these bluffs south of the prison where people will build up and they'll do it quickly and quietly, and before you actually realize they're near you, they've actually got a height advantage on you, and you really don't want to let someone get a height advantage on you when you're in a 1x1 fort. So there is a guy to my southwest that I don't know about. There is a good chance that that guy came from either Anarchy Acres or even the Flush Factory guy that we missed earlier. I'll go ahead and slow it down. So right now I start hearing gunfire down here near the bridge. So I'm kind of looking for this guy, hoping to maybe get an easy snipe on him. I don't see him. It turns out he's kind of down here underneath. But I don't think at this stage of the game that I have any eyes on him at any point in time. So let's take a look at the map. We can see, like we said, most of the people coming in are doing so from the west. And we came in through the south, so we kind of negated coming in through the most crowded areas of the map in order to make sure we weren't going to be in a high trafficked area. So I still know there's someone down here. But right now I'm just kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm in the zone, so I know I'm safe. So I'm just going to build up a little bit and then make a decision. So let me rewind just for a second. We'll see if I can catch it. So this is my first sight of this guy. I don't actually notice him right away. I don't notice him until he starts shooting at me. So right here he starts shooting, so I immediately build a ramp in his direction to give me that extra few seconds buffer between him breaking down my structures. Use that to analyze the situation. I see that he's up here and he's standing still firing at my wall. So out comes the bolt action, and since he's standing still, I can take time to line up my shot and just take him out. I don't quite get a headshot, but a lot of times it's just that initial burst of the bolt action you're looking for. And if you can land it, it puts an enormous amount of pressure on anyone that you hit. It will immediately strip away all their shields, and if they weren't at full shields, it'll take a significant portion of their health away. And they're kind of then forced on the defensive. So right here I can hear the guy beneath me. I can't see him. But being out exposed on the middle of the bridge is a very bad place to be, so I kind of want to keep moving. And then I see this guy on the other side of the car. I'm pretty sure he saw me or he heard the fight and knows that I'm there. And we kind of each trade sniper shots here and both miss. But I want to keep some pressure on him, so I immediately send a rocket downrange and then move over. And here I make kind of a questionable decision. I see the scar, I get greedy, and I want to upgrade my green assault rifle because I think that'll help me out. And of course it wouldn't be Fortnite if I didn't box myself in unintentionally at least once. So now I've got a better scar, or I'm sorry, a better assault rifle. I've got my explosives. And so this guy has actually moved from behind this wall and circumnavigated here to try and get a surprise advantage on me. And he gets a decent amount of chip damage in on me before I realize what's going on. But then, when I rush, he starts trying to build. And despite my complete potato aim, we're able to close that out. Once we went on the aggressive there, we transitioned from building to shotgun rushing very quickly, and I think it caught him off guard, and he was very, very flustered by it. At this point, we're exactly where we don't want to be. We're kind of on the east, or the west side of the zone again. So we're going to take stock on our position, look around for people, and then decide what we're going to do next. So we'd been hearing fighting from north of us, and right now I'm just looking for any signs of activity. And I start to see a little bit of motion here in this fort in just a second. Always leave yourself an exit. Okay, so we see a little bit of construction going on here that wasn't there before, so it tells us immediately there is a player in that fort. So we pull out our sniper rifle, and this is the reason that anytime you're attacking a wall or a structure, you always want to zigzag a little bit to the left or the right, or make sure that your body's not exposed. For all we know, that could have been our biggest threat this game, and he got taken out by a stray sniper shot because half of his head was showing. So at this point, we have our new zone, and it's on the northeast side. We're going to go ahead and make our way over there. Actually, all three of the remaining players are between us and the zone. but they're not really in a position to stop us. This guy underneath us, he's turtling in, so he's not an immediate threat. The other two guys don't have line of sight on us. So the other two guys are pretty far to the north. One is in a fort up on a rise. This is kind of where I get my first look at the guy under the bridge and realize, you know, if he's turtling this whole game, he's not going to be a huge issue at the end. I'm looking more for the guys that are going to be an issue. That'll be this guy up here, who for some reason decides to play a little conservatively, or isn't really looking in my direction because he just lets me wander right into the zone. So what's interesting is this other guy has an angle on him. Actually, I think this guy is looting a supply drop that came down, and we'll see that a little bit later. But the third place guy ends up taking him out with a sniper shot, giving away his location and allowing us to get a little bit aggressive on him, since we know that the last guy is going to be in the bunker. I force him out of his fort using the high ground advantage, and now he's getting ready to rush me. And this is not a situation I excel in. I'm not very good at the close range shotgun battles, as you've probably seen. So my goal now is to make sure that he can't close the distance effectively. The best tool I have for that is the rocket launcher, and I expect he's going to put a wall in front, so I'm going to be aiming for the little corner here where I can take out his ramp and his wall. It's a good thing I did that because he continued building up. Whereas this drops him now, and he's got his blueprints out, he's vulnerable, and I can finish the job with that freshly picked up scar. Now it's just a 1v1, and I have a general idea of where the guy is because he was hiding. So I'm free to loot a little bit, and then I'm going to push up towards the zone, and the goal then becomes area control and denial to make sure that I can deny him entry to the zone and force him into an unfavorable situation. So I mentioned earlier the guy up on the hill was looking at something else rather than me. Well, I think he was watching the supply crate come down, jump down, started trying to build defenses around it, and that's where he was taken out. So if you're going for supply drops in the final 10, you really need to know where everyone else is. Information is really the biggest weapon in the top 10 and the top 5 especially. So we've got a good position here, a good fort, but I'm kind of thinking about it, and I know where the guy is, because I know that he was building the bunker down below, and I'm thinking that this isn't really the most effective position to deny him access to the zone, because he's going to be coming in from the south. So if I move more to the west inside the zone, I'm going to be better positioned to block him, and if the zone changes again before I can kill him, I'm going to be better positioned for the next zone as well. So anytime you're leaving a fort, you always want to drop away from any perceived threats. So that's why I drop out of what would be his line of sight. And anytime you drop low, instead of jumping over the fort, it reduces the chance that you're going to be seen. Now I don't move very much. I'm only a few yards away from my last fort. But this position, it's going to give me a little bit better view of the surrounding area. And it's going to better prepare me for the next shift on the zone. So you always want to be kind of thinking ahead and stay ahead of the game. You don't want to be playing catch up. Now, let me rewind it just a little bit. So this is where I actually get the very first look on this guy the entire game. I've run literally 5 feet from him a couple times by going over the bridge and left him behind me kind of as a dismissed threat that I would deal with later. This is the first time I actually lay eyes on him. So I see him, and I see him moving across my screen from the right to the left, and it looks like it's going to carry him across that door. So rather than try and line up a shot over here, I go ahead and take a shot through the door, wing him in the leg, and now he's at an extreme disadvantage. Now if he had managed that shot, he probably would have killed me. But now that I've got the advantage, I don't want to leave myself open to those Hail Mary shots. So I launch a rocket again through the door, knowing that he'll retreat from the left side to the right probably, and it manages to kill him. So that's the win. It wasn't a super aggressive game, but we were able to control and come out victorious in every encounter that we engaged. Hopefully you guys learned something. Hopefully you guys liked watching. If you want to see more replay analysis for games like this, um, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. Let me know. And hope to see you guys in the next video.